Have you ever noticed nowadays the boy band disappeared? Unless they are from Korea. K-pop, C-pop, or any pops is cool. The peak time of Backstreet Boys are gone. I'm very curious about the reason behind this, so I did some digging. I dug and I dug and I dug. Guess what I found? Some interesting factors. Hi guys, I'm Jennifer, the Culture Doctor. Welcome or welcome back. On my channel, I talk about culture-related topics, especially when it comes to the cultural comparisons between the East and the West. I feel I'm qualified to talk about this. I have a PhD degree in culture management, and throughout the decades, I have worked in both the East and the West in a variety of industries, places, and with people holding different cultural backgrounds. Today, we talk about boy bands. What are we most excited about boy bands? The great music, the good looking, or the single-sided relationship we have in our mind? Let's trace their rise in the West, their evolution in the East, and the economic machine that powers them. My friends have been talking about going to Bangkok to watch Jackson Wang's concert. Plus, there are lots of exciting news for boy bands lovers nowadays. GOT7 has made its comeback. BTS has gotten its new songs. What excites us? Whether you grew up screaming for Backstreet Boys in the 90s or streaming BTS on repeat today, chances are you've shaped more than just your playlist. From Westlife to SMAP, from UK's One Direction to Korean's EXO. Behind the catchy core uses and perfect choreography, there is something lies deeper. A cultural phenomenon that reflects how we see youth, masculinity, and psychology of romantic relationship itself. How these groups capture hearts, build empires, and why the Western boy bands faded while K-pop took over the world? Boy bands equals a creative persona, somebody says. For me, a boy band is typically a vocal group of young male performers, often in their teens or early 20s, marketed towards young audience, especially young women, let's say. They rarely play instruments. Instead, they focus on harmonized vocals, dancing choreographies, fashion, and personal styles. Some people say that the term boy bands derived from 60s, like the Beatles and the Jackson 5 are of the first boy bands in the world. I disagree. Not just because the Beatles and Jackson 5 both write their songs and play instruments, but also because I consider boy bands itself a marketing concept for music industry. Boy bands, the concept, is a persona that is generated by experienced managers in music industries. And its persona tends to be backed up by statistics, generated through data analysis. 1. Consumer groups, 2. Consumer psychology, and 3. Consumer behaviors. Speaking human language, boy bands is a tailored music product. Think it as a birthday cake that is baked for your preferences and decorated with your favorite sort of pink, because the shop has carefully observed your behavior for years, let's just say. The groups like Jackson 5, they were formed by its family in nature. Therefore, it shouldn't be counted as a marketing product, but a group of musicians that has made success on the market. It's just that this group of musicians happens to be boys. They're not boy bands. On the other hand, an authentic boy band is created by experienced producers. Before the band is introduced, the producers have already had a picture in their mind, detailing that what kinds of music genre is popular at the moment and what is favored by current target audience groups.
Zayn, Malik, Liam Payne, Harry Styles.
Oh my god.
Guys, follow me this way.
Oh.
The company knows exactly what is on demand at the moment, and then the company will go through a selection process to pick the boys that fit with the criteria.
Hello. Hi. Thank you so much for coming back. I know, judging from some of your faces, that this is really hard. We've thought long and hard about it, and we've thought of each of you as individuals, and we just feel that you're too talented to let go of. We think it would be a great idea to have two separate groups.
We've decided to put you both through to the judges.
The candidates would go through a professional training process to be able to debut. The training can be as short as weeks or as long as years. All of the effort is to make the candidates qualify the product for the music industry. Here's the thing. Out of all the criteria, is there one thing that the company cares about the most? Yes, for sure. Profit. Let's talk about West. Well, no matter what, by the 1990s in the West, boy bands' personas were perfected. Backstreet Boys, Westlife, Take That, and NSYNC, etc., etc., dominated charts with catchy hooks, synchronized moves, and carefully curated image. Each member had a role. The shy one, the bad boy, the heartthrob, creating emotional access points for fans. However, each of these boy bands doesn't have a long-term career, some due to the extreme exploitation of the company. You're saying Backstreet Boys? Are you? Or mostly due to the reason that the target audience of the band would grow older and would change their music preferences along the way. Let's talk about East now. In the East, the concept evolved differently. Japan's Johnny and Associates is the first pioneered the idol system, which was adopted and adapted by Korean companies like SM, JYP, or Chinese companies and other companies in the East, and many other places as well. This system emphasizes long-term careers for the boy bands, expanding the music career into other industries, like variety shows, acting jobs, podcasts, TV hosts, and so on. Therefore, a lot of boy bands from Korea and Japan can carry their careers for decades. Moreover, this system also created economic mechanism through the fan base emotional intimacy, which we called idol culture in the East.
안풍을 몰고 왔구나.
세훈이랑 첸이 보이지가 않는다, 머리색 때문에. 딱 그냥 얼굴만, 엑소 외모 순위.
It works on the psychology of their audience, normally teenagers. It encourages the fans to have more interaction with the members of the boy bands, idols. Sometimes, this culture even encourages these delusional one-sided relationships with the fans in their mind.
Recently, the boys' Hyunjae went viral for his fan service.
The illusion of the intimacy increases the consumption level of each audience. Well, spend more on each band, spend longer for each member. Because being a fan, they're not just musicians for you, not just your idols, they're your friends, your emotional supporters, your role models, and your secret lover in your dreams. Daydreams. As a fan, you don't just buy their CDs, go to their concerts. You also would watch their TV shows, buy the product they speak for, attend the event they attend, or try to wait for them in the airport. Psychologically, the more you do for a person, the more you will do for that person. Tricky? No, all of the money you spend will increase your idol's business value and reinforce the bond between you and them, and now you feel even more mentally supported by watching their performance, buying their merchandises, and streaming their YouTube videos. In fact, you might even defend them when someone left a negative comment down here. For the company behind the boy band, the longevity of their employees' career increased, the profit margin increased too. Win-win-win. It is quite a smart and efficient strategy. Therefore, it was quickly copied or adapted everywhere in Asia. Maybe in the West now as well, I don't know. Soon, Korea's Soul Taiji and boys revolutionized the genre by fusing Western sounds with social commentary, paving the way for modern K-pop, such as later Super Junior, EXO, Big Bang, GOT7, and BTS, etc. While Western groups often disbanded after a few years, Eastern groups extended their career life pretty well. SMAP, the big band, lasted decades. Arashi sold over 30 million records. This longevity is built on fan-based accessibility, which translated into marketing work, customer retention, and brand loyalty. Now we know boy bands aren't just cultural icons, they are economic engines. By the way, if you enjoy this kind of deep dive between the East and West, I have many other deep dives on my channel. Subscribe. Why not? Okay, here I break down the income patterns of two most popular boy bands from the East and West, BTS and One Direction. Let's see how they contribute to the economy of music industry. I will measure the income through 5 aspects. 1. Concert and tours. 2. Album sale and streaming. 3. merchandise and licensing like light sticks, photo cards, fashion collabs, etc. And 4. Endorsements and brand deals. And 5. Other projects like TV shows, acting roles, etc. Let's start with One Direction. During their peak year, roughly from 2013 to 2015, their biggest source of income by far was touring. Their world tour filled massive stadiums and generated hundreds of millions of dollars. In fact, around 60% of their total income came from live concerts alone. After that, merchandise made up another big chunk, about 20%, with fans buying t-shirts, posters, DVDs, and all other kind of memorabilia. Album sales and streaming, well, surprisingly, only brought about 10%, while brand endorsement and other small projects like books, fragrances made up the rest. So for One Direction, the formula was simple. Record and album, go on a massive world tour, and let concert carry the financial weight. Their model leaned heavily on the classic Western music industry system. Well, tours are the real money makers, and albums mainly exist to promote those tours. Now let's compare that to BTS. Their income pattern looks a lot more diversified in here, thanks to the way HYBE, their management company, structured the business. Concerts are still the single biggest slice, but only about 35% of their total income comes from live shows. That's a huge share, but notice how much lower it is compared to One Direction's 60% in here. Merchandise and licensing, including official light sticks, fan club memberships, and exclusive content on HYBE's own platform, Weavers, made up about 25%. That's something One Direction never had. A dedicated digital ecosystem where fans constantly interact and spend money directly with the group. Albums and streaming sale are another 20%, which is higher than One Direction's share, partly because K-pop still pushes physical albums as a collector's item. Endorsements with global brands like the famous McDonald's BTS meal bring it around 12%. And solo projects such as individual albums, acting, or ambassador roles around for remain 8%. By the way, as of 2025, BTS collective net worth is estimated at about $600 million. That is roughly 480 million pounds. For One Direction, as their peak year was from 2013 to 2015, so I take 2014 as an example. On this year, One Direction's turnover was 73.7 million pounds in the year, with a post-tax profit of 35 million. Well, although these numbers are not entirely accurate, but we can see the differences between the numbers. In one of their peak years, BTS made about 480 million pounds, that is about $600 million, while One Direction owning about 35 million pounds, which is roughly $47 million. So what does it tell us? The typical Western boy band, One Direction's income model was heavily concentrated on the traditional model. As we said, a huge reliance on stadium tours with everything else playing a supporting role. Under this model, when the group member grew older or for whatever reasons they're no longer able to do so many tours, One Direction would have to face the end of their career, no matter how successful they were. The typical Eastern boy band, BTS, on the other hand, has a more balanced and multi-channel system which secures their career longevity. HYBE, the company behind BTS, built an ecosystem where fans engage not only through concerts, but also through merchandise, digital platform, fan club, and endorsement, and so much more. This makes BTS less vulnerable when they're not touring. For example, due to military service reasons, when the group activities slow down, the band could still thrive through merchandise sales, brand deals, acting careers, solo projects, and so on and so on. Again, if you're enjoying this kind of deep dive between the East and West, I have many other deep dives on my channel, like beauty comparison and horror movie decoding. I will leave the link down below. So what we learned here between the East and West on boy band. The traditional Western boy band model is album plus mega tour equals income model. The modern K-pop model, Eastern model, is a diversified entertainment ecosystem that spread income across multi-different platforms and streams. Both the East and the West boy bands can reach global success, but the way they make money reflects two very different approaches to managing music, fans, and business of being a boy band. These significantly contribute to the longevity of their career, hence the stability of their companies. After all, maybe this is why, in the long run, K-pop is able to replace the Western boy bands economically on the music market. Now I want to know which boy band you like, why you like them, why you don't, and what do you think about the future holds for this genre. Thanks for watching. See you next time.